external stress is dealing with your mental stability. I didn't have that idea about choosing a career that sits with your purpose, because that wasn't clear for me at that year.
Right.
General anxiety disorder.
What is that? Just break that down for us, for those that don't understand.
Okay, so if you say anxiety is fear. It hit me at a point where I got into burnout. I was burnt out.
Tell me about two of the main tools that you use from that helped to change your life.
I realized that when you want to choose something that influence and lead your own personal life so that you can conveniently lead other people.
Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome back to Authentic Turning Point. And today I have with me Sakirat Okewole. She is a personal growth coach. So Sakirat, today you're going to share with us your authentic turning point. So tell me about you. Tell me about your story.
Okay, I am Sakirat Okewole, and I'm a personal growth coach. But it makes sense to introduce myself more as a mother of two, and a wife to a darling husband. Of course, I started my journey of entrepreneurship 11 years ago as a designer in the event space, designing events and also creating trainings and workshops to teach people who want to become a designer themselves. And while I did this, I was also running family businesses back in Nigeria. Also did some other small businesses around that. And one thing I've realized is I grew up liking to be in business. And so I've never had to be on a white collar job or a 9 to 5. So I've been a business person from the beginning. Right now I do personal growth coaching for some reasons, I'd say, because I started out as a designer, like I said, and I did that for 10 years before I switched into personal growth coaching. And what made me switch was it was a point in my life where I realized that there was more to myself. And I would say that was about the point where I realized that there was something called purpose. And for every human to live most expressed, then you should find your purpose. At the point where I started to question myself of my abilities and the things that I'm doing, I realized that I haven't been fulfilled at some point for some reasons. And I was so curious to find out what could the reasons be. And if there's anything that eats me differently in life so far was for me to be able to know myself, who I am in terms of my identity. I think it was finding that out that made it really easy for me to transition from being an event designer and moving into personal growth coaching.
Amazing. So when you say from the beginning, when was the first time when you set out into business?
Like I said, I've been into business about 11 years ago. I'd say my first designing job was February 2012. It was an auntie's 60th birthday, and I'd finished my training as a designer, and that was my very first job. I'm just trying to get the numbers right if it was that month. But yeah, it was a February, and it was an aunt's 60th birthday. That was my first designing work that I did, and it was amazing because from the start of the business, I didn't know why I went into designs. I didn't know why. But I do know that, of course, I want to be a business person. I didn't want to work a 9 to 5. And then my husband, we had started courting, but we had not gotten married then. He had a family business. He had a family business around event designing, event center. So I, as a designer, I said, oh, it'd be nice for us to, he said it would be nice for me to go and learn a designing business so that it would complement his family business. So I said, okay, I would learn that. And then that was what pushed me into designing. I didn't think I was going to be a designer while I was in the uni, because I was this very bright girl wanting to do things around leadership and around. I was asking my cousin recently that if you thought I would pick a profession, what would you think about me, or what would you think of me? And he said, I would have thought that you would be an activist, human rights activist, because that was me wanting to be at the forefront of seeing people do great exploits, live comfortable, and then I like community-based service. Especially back in the uni, I was one of the girls in the student union. You know, I liked that a lot. But so when I chose the business of event design, I didn't have that idea about choosing a career that sits with your purpose, because that wasn't clear for me at that year.
Right.
I just started a business for the reason that we had an event center. My husband had an event center, and it'd be nice for me to pick up a business that complemented that. So you can see that's not really purposeful, and that wasn't clear until I got to a particular point in my life where I realized that when you want to choose something that influence and lead your own personal life so that you can conveniently lead other people. And yeah. And
tell me about that point.
yeah, so I like that. And as I grew in the process of in the business of event design, I was doing well. Yes, I was moving ahead in terms of scaling good numbers on the business and also helping other people start their business of event designs. But because I was juggling so many things, family, trying to raise the children, trying to also balance myself within two different businesses, mine and the family business, I had a lot on my plate. And I would have said that hit me at a point where I got into burnout. I was burnt out. And that was maybe, I would say that's the beginning of the turning point for me, because I was burnt out really badly that I eat anxiety. I eat general anxiety disorder. And, I ended up...
Sorry, when you say general
anxiety disorder.
What is that? Just break that down for us, for those
Okay.
that don't understand.
Okay, so if you say anxiety is fear.
Yeah.
So if you say general anxiety disorder, it's fear disorder.
Okay.
Which means you're scared of anything and everything. And mine was really bad. I was scared to sleep, scared to talk to people, scared to go out, and that called the agoraphobia. So when you go into malls, I feel like the mall was going to collapse, or maybe you were going to scream or bite me. It's just fear disorder. And this comes from a place where the stress, external stress, is dealing with your mental stability. The brain, the mind is already disorganized, and so is recognizing everything every stress as a fear. So there had to be a reordering of the mind, the brain, for me to get my sanity back fully. So general anxiety disorder is just a fear disorder.
Okay.
And it comes from stress, whether physical, mental. Stress is another thing that we might not want to talk about today. But of course, when you get to a particular threshold and you can no longer hold the stress, that's when you hear people go into burnout or mood disorder. And I would say it starts with the general anxiety disorder first, fear disorder, and if you don't manage that well, it eats into depression, mood disorders, and other mental health illnesses. And bad enough for some people, it will eat into psychosis. That's the point where it's already going into, like, you need to go into psychiatry and get treated for that. So that's the breakdown for general anxiety disorder. I was burnt out. I had general anxiety disorder, which emanated into depression. And I started to withdraw from people, withdrew from work, withdrew from every other thing. And it got bad that I was in and out of the hospital for a long time. This was happening for a long time. And, it got bad. I had to also travel back home, because in the hospital over here in the UK, the doctors had seen me and said, "Oh, you are fine. Nothing is wrong with you. You just might be dealing with stress." And I'm like, "No, I don't believe this is stress, because I'm having palpitation. I'm losing weight. I've lost zeal to live. I'm not myself. Something is wrong." And where I've come from, especially living a lot of my life back in Africa, there is a belief that if you don't have any medical diagnosis to your condition, it could be spiritual.
Okay.
So we started to believe, myself, family, we started to believe, oh, this is beyond natural. It has to be some spiritual thing going on there. So we had to fly home, and then I got back home wanting to see a turning point, but nothing happened, because I was in and out of the hospital. Again, the doctors have said the same thing. You look fine. The only thing they were able to place hands on was that I was having high blood pressure. And it's funny that I didn't have any reason to have high blood pressure, by the way, but it was really bad that I lost my sleep now. I became insomniac. I lost my sleep, depression very bad. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to leave again. I got suicidal at some points as well.
Okay.
So I ended up in the psychiatric home.
Okay.
And that was, I think that was the beginning of the should I say that was the solution, because when I go into the
Was that
psychiatric,
in Nigeria or
in
was that over
Nigeria,
here?
in
Okay.
Africa. So, I had to leave UK to Nigeria just because I didn't feel like I was getting any medical help here. It was the same thing in and out of the hospital, the same thing. The doctor would say, I'm fine, but I didn't feel like I was fine. I mean, my weight could say it, my blood pressure could say that I wasn't fine, my sleep patterns could say that I wasn't fine. A lot of things could say that I wasn't fine, but then the doctor said, I was fine. There wasn't really any diagnosis, so I had to, go back home and see if there was anything that I could get back home. And yes, I was going from hospitals to hospitals, and then I was visiting spiritual leaders as well to do prayers for me and all. But everything didn't really. There wasn't so much. I didn't see so much changes, isn't it? So I ended up in the psychiatric home back in Africa, and Professor Lashibikon, I like to speak about him a lot. And is a professor in general anxiety disorder. He's a psychiatrist, and when I told him about my symptoms, he immediately said to me that you're suffering from general anxiety disorder, nothing more, and it's this simple. You just have to do this and this and this and that.
Wow.
I'm like, really? For months, I've lost almost everything, so it's just anxiety. I didn't know. So that was the beginning. The diagnosis was the beginning, to hear that, this is what's wrong, and these are the possible causes of that. And I do believe that it's from stress. I had a lot I was dealing with, balancing home, balancing family, balancing relocation, balancing a whole lot of things, controlling businesses from here and Africa. So it was a lot for me to carry on. So I agree that we must have emanated from there. So I came back to the UK just because at least I have a name to what's wrong with me now, and I can begin to find solutions. I came to the UK. I was given some medications to keep me happy and keep me lively. But I didn't like the side effects of those medications, so I had to stop it.
What were the side effects?
Because when I woke up the next day, I would struggle to remember things that happened previously. So I'm like, and I could feel happy, not happy, but I could feel like, I feel like I have the zeal to live again. But soon I would feel that same way again. So it was a rebound. It was like the cycle continued from feeling happy, then you calm down, then I forget things, then it keeps going like that. And I said to myself, I don't like this. And I'm an active person normally. So I started to lose zeal to live, zeal to do anything. So I said, this isn't working. Yes, it's working because I would get some sleep, but the side effect, I didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that I would struggle to remember things and that I would be happy. The mood disorder was there, and it was really noticeable. So I stopped it. Secretly, I stopped it to myself. And, when I stopped it, I stopped sleeping. The anxiety rebounded and I stopped sleeping. I could barely have 3 hours of sleep in a day. So because the anxiety rebounded, now I was feeling like I was mental. I didn't want to do anything. I was angry, frustrated with life. And, but I was just praying. Of course, like I said, I traveled home. I'd done prayers with spiritual fathers and all that. And some of them were still keeping up with me when I came back.
Yeah.
Are you okay? What are you feeling now? And all that. Well, the prayers, I'd say it helps because sometimes they'll tell me to do some certain prayers. And so that also drifted me closer to God. And one of the nights when I felt really suicidal. Like I said, I was going to end my life because I didn't feel like, why would other people be sleeping? And I would struggle to sleep.
And you had your children at this time.
And I had my children.
Yeah.
And so my husband was doing a whole lot of child minding, child care and all that. I couldn't do anything. I felt I'm useless. I'm feeling emboldened. So I'm like, I feel like I'm burdening in. Or even I just felt like I'm not active. What's my point? And then the background noise in my head was another thing. That one kept coming back to me to question me. Like I would have inner dialogue with myself. Who are you? Do you even think you are? You've wasted your time. You don't matter. Can't you just end it all? Why can't you just go? I mean, look at your children. You can't be there for them. Your husband, your work. I mean, it's finished. You know, I had that conversation with myself so many times when I was alone. I would cry. I'm like, oh, really? Is that the end of life? Is this how I'm going to die? And then the other one, the very, very bad fear was the fear of dying. Because I'll say to myself, oh, I'll die tomorrow. Maybe it could be in the next hour. Maybe it could even be in 2 hours' time. Oh, then I'll cry then out. You know, when that thought comes. And that's why it's funny. And now I'm so grounded with the education around it. So when I look back at that time, it feels funny to me because it's just the thoughts. The thoughts will just make you have that reaction. It's a cycle, isn't it? What you think and then the way you behave and act. So it was just when the thought comes, I'll start palpitating, I'll tremble, like, oh, I'm feeling shaky and cold. But I wasn't cold. It's just the reaction. Your body is sensing that there's threats from what I'm thinking. So that's mental stress there.
So tell me about the journey. Tell me about the process.
Yeah.
Into your personal growth business, or not even the personal growth business, but your personal growth journey, when you began to do this for yourself and then you decided to do this for others. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I would say that at the point where I had that anxiety and I was praying, I got an answer that night not to end my life. So I think a couple of days after that, because I turned off my phone, I didn't have any interest in talking to people or whatever. I was detached from people now. So I turned on my phone a few days after, and I went back on Instagram, just scrolling, and then I jumped on someone's page. You know that they say that when the student is ready, the master shows up. So I met this guy online who teaches about general anxiety disorder. His name is Charles Linden. And he has suffered it for 35 years himself. 25 or 35, I can't remember now, without knowing. So his story was similar to mine. And it was talking on that video online, how you can come out of anxiety and even begin to do better things with your life. So I said, oh, I'll try to meet up with this person and see how I can. So I bought a course from them, and it was that course that changed my life.
Wow.
Yeah, because the course walked me through the journey of how it could start, how things are for me, what I can do to get myself out very quickly. And I tried all the things that was, said about in the course, that was taught in the course. And then that helped me come out of anxiety in about 3 weeks. It was really, really phenomenal. And then I could have 4 hours sleep, then 5, then 6, then 7.
Tell me about 2 of the main tools.
Yeah. First,
that you use from that helped to change your life.
First of all, the knowledge of what is wrong, because ignorance indeed can kill anybody. It was the knowledge of what was wrong with my body. So it was well explained. And I have a background in science, so it was really easy for me to catch up. I have a background, I have a master's in public health, and I did it about global health and all. So it was really easy for me to catch it up. It was really easy. So it was just so surprising that, so this is what's wrong. It was just the brain interpreting the whole stressor as something else, as a fear, as threat. And then my body was reacting. And because I didn't know how to come out of it, the loop continued. So first, the knowledge. And second is the consistency. So many times life is telling us, do this, try this, but we're not listening. But I was consistent. I was listening. I was doing the work. It was gradual. I mean, in the first week, I didn't see so much difference. I could have jumped the course and said, oh, this isn't working. But I said, no, I feel like this man is telling the truth and I should keep consistent. And he's mentioned already, consistency. So I was consistent. And second week, third week, I saw massive change.
Wow.
My sleep changed without the medication now. So since my sleep changed, and after I recovered, I started to ask myself, God, I want to know you more. Who am I? How can I be better? How can I speak to people about this thing that I've gone through? How can I, elevate my condition so that I don't go back into that particular anxiety? And it was then I started to hear a lot of answers that no one was speaking to me. It was just me looking, observing what was going on around me at that moment and saying, what doesn't sit with me no more? So I started to listen more, and I started to trust myself more, that whatever it is I listen, I hear, I want to take a step on it. I really want to follow it up. So I started to see that decor was good, event was good, but there was more to me than events, because I went on a journey to also find out who I was. So I got another coach who took me through on self-identity, envisioning myself, knowing who I am, knowing how I can serve people. And that was a turning point for me to see how I can serve people. And so I was able to also envision myself and saw myself for who I really am. And I really did know that I'm someone who loves learning and loves to impact the community. And so I had to bring together the things that I have learned, my experiences, and the things that I'm passionate about. And I had to group that together to form a vision statement for my life. And then when I had that vision statement, I started to break that down into goals. And I started to walk the journey of living conscious, listening more to what God's telling me, listening more to what I need to know, to what I need to do, to who I need to be, and not what others think of me or what they think I should do.
How do you know when God is speaking to you?
Because I pray, I fast, and when I also want to hear, I ask. So it's an intentional thing. When I pray and I fast, I'm asking some questions.
So how do you know when God is speaking to you?
I hear
Where
it
do you hear him?
in my mind. So it's like an imagination in my mind. I feel it, and
What does it feel like?
calm. I'll say calm, and I want to use the right word now. Conviction, personal conviction. Like I don't need anyone to tell me anything. This is the journey I've walked. This is what I've learned.
I need to ask you a question.
Sorry?
I need to ask you a question.
Yeah.
So when because you said some real great pointers there, and something that you've just said there I think is really key, where you say that when God is speaking to you, it's calm, it's conviction. Then you say, it doesn't matter what anyone else says to me, I just know.
I know that was it. I know that's it. Whenever I hear, I know. And one thing I also try to do is, because like I said, after the anxiety, I started to center myself spiritually, because I know that I can't walk the journey of life alone. My intelligence alone was not enough. So I did.
Your
so like
intelligence alone was not enough.
Yeah, it wasn't enough. I had to also merge my intelligence with that of God, because I know it's the ultimate intelligence.
So how do you practice your intelligence with divine intelligence, with God's intelligence?
So I read books, I read the Quran, I read the Bible even, and I think it's just really easy when you center yourself spiritually. And if one of the ways that you center yourself is also religiously, because being spiritual is not being religious. They're two different things now. Spirituality is you agreeing that there's a higher power and you want to hear more from the higher powers. Religion is just you choosing how do you want to hear from God. So do you want to hear the Christian way? Do you want to go the Islamic way? Do you want to go through the Buddhism way? There are ways in which you can hear from God. So because I'm born as a Muslim and I'm a Muslim, so I read the Quran and the English meaning of the Quran. And the things that are spoken to me a lot in the Quran, even when I read the Bible, the things that are spoken to me is the same. Trust God and obey God. So it's the same. I keep trusting and I keep obeying. Trust, obey, trust, obey, trust, obey. Even when I find myself in, very down or turmoil or a very down time, I just remind myself, I just have to trust and obey, trust and obey, trust and obey. So that's the way it's been for me, and it's been centering me spiritually.
And you practice by?
Am I?
And you practice by?
Yeah, and I practice that.
By taking his instructions and then applying what he says to you?
Yes.
Right, okay.
I do that a lot.
Yeah.
Especially in a world where there's so much noise, everyone has an opinion. Who do you want to trust? I know that God won't fail me if anyone fails me.
Sometimes we can hear so much. We can hear God sometimes. Yeah, we can hear so many things. But even though we're hearing, we don't take action on what we're actually hearing. So the reason I'm asking you, so what do you do? So how do you practice it so that our listeners can glean from you and find, if they're not already doing it, find ways, when I hear, what do I do? Oh, I can do that. Oh, I can practice that way as well then, kind of thing. So
I think that answering that again, since my journey of consciousness, since my journey of intentional living after the recovery, I always use a vision board yearly. So every end of the year, I set my goals and I pray before I set it right, the things that I want to do. And I always make those things not only about myself, always about, the bigger picture. So I have a vision board, I have the goals, I have the action plans, I have the milestones, I have the intention. Is this big board. I see it every day, and it helps me to schedule my month, my week, my day. So I'm really intentional with what I'm doing with my life. a lot of things has happened to me this year, and it all comes from the vision board. A lot of it comes from the vision board.
Yeah.
I'm here because I wouldn't have said yes to this podcast, but I've put it on my vision board. I would start learning, how to podcast and also join podcasters to share my story. So it aligns with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I did a conference in the middle of the year, Awaken My Millennial Mindset Conference, back in my home country as well. It was because it was on the vision board. I wrote it last year for the year, and I wrote actions and why I wanted to do it. The intention was for me to bring, advocate more on mental health back home and to, make people see the powers that they carry for themselves. Because many times we are waiting for the answers to come from outside of us, external, whereas the answers are inside. When we become spiritual, when we, believe and trust ourselves more, we don't need validation from an external person to take the right action. So the vision board has been very, very, very helpful for me. So when someone says, don't try that thing, do you think it's not risky? I'm like, don't worry. This one, I did it with God. Honestly, I did it with God.
Yeah, brilliant.
So even if I fail, God wants to show me a lesson from there. And once I get the lesson, I replan.
Good. So tell me about a turning point.
So the turning point keeps going back to that anxiety disorder. It was the one for me. I felt ill, almost losing my life. But then God wasn't done with me. It was a test for you to know that there is more to you. And it would be the time when I said no, and I closed up on my event design business. This is a business I'd run for like 10 years. And people were asking, why would you do that? You're doing great. You're teaching people.
So you close your events business that you ran
home and abroad.
Over in abroad.
Home and abroad.
And wow. So you closed all that after 10 years. And that's also in relation to you with your husband as well, right? Because he had a center.
Yeah, I pulled out of everything.
And all of that. So how did you navigate that conversation within yourself? Because obviously yourself and your husband doing this together, he may have his opinions, you may have your opinions, and navigating that for some of us might not be easy, for some of us might be easier than some. How did you navigate that? How was you able to make a decision to say, okay, I'm not saying your husband wasn't happy, because maybe he was happy, but for other people whose husbands or wives might not be happy with their decision, how did you navigate that internal conversation to act on that authentic turning point decision? What did you do?
Okay, for that particular one, especially for the family business, I would say sometimes you don't know yourself. You don't see yourself, especially when you've not gone on the journey of self-identity. At that point, I was just walking the journey of self-identity, finding myself more.
Yeah.
So even before then, my husband usually tells me that you stress yourself a lot. You do a lot of work. So when it got to that point where I got ill, we had that conversation that some things has to go, some things has to stop. And he has also been saying that, we can reduce some things. So it was easy for me to say, I'm pulling out of this, I'm stopping this. It was seamless.
Yes.
Because before then, he's always said to me that you just like to put yourself through so much stress. You just like to do, why can we not hire this? Why can we not do this? I'm like, I can do it. Let's try this and let's try that. So we had conversation, we had that understanding. So sincerely, it was really easy for me to say, I think this is time. Wow. I want to listen to you now. And he says, what do you want to do? I said, I have a background in public health. And apart from that, I've gone on a journey of envisioning. I have a vision statement, and I have a clear identity on who I am. And
what's your vision statement? What's your vision statement?
Okay, every day, every morning, I write that I use my voice and self to help billions of people break free from fear, get clarity on their life's true purpose, so that they can live fulfilled.
Say that again, slowly.
I use my voice and self to help people, billions of people, break free from fear, get clarity on their life's true purpose, so that they can live fulfilled.
And
so every morning I say that I write.
For yourself, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah, billions of people might not be at the same time, one person at a time, community at a time, a home at a time. And that vision has birthed so many things. I ask myself the question, how do I want to help you get clarity? How can I help you break fear?
Yeah.
Where is fear coming from? Because fear comes from different places for different people. So answering those questions, I had loads and loads of introspection with myself, and I answered a lot of questions that pushes me to the next right move for my life.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I want to just ask you, so you shared your turning point with us in relation to 10 years of running a successful business. It's easy to close a business down when it's not running great, right? Or it's an easy decision if you don't want to quit. But when your business is running successful and you made a decision that this is what I'm going to do for my life, I want to change my trajectory and I want to go down this point, doesn't matter what anybody says. And now you're in this space where you can help people in relation to going through fear, mastering their mindset, you've come through a general anxiety disorder. For somebody that might be going through something that sounds like, so if you're listening today and you might be thinking, gosh, what Shakira has just described, I feel like I'm going through this myself. What would you say to that person right now that may be going through something similar that you've been through? What would you say the first step for them would be to do now?
Well, first I would say to the person or to people who are hearing me and have general anxiety disorder is to merge with the fear, to become one with it. Because these things are producing hormones and emotions in us, perceive the emotion and go through it. But most importantly...
Do you mean to feel them?
Yeah,
okay.
To feel them. But it's easier said for anxiety that is mild. If it's serious anxiety like the one I went through, I would say if you are listening right now and you feel like it's too much, it's running beyond a week, 2 weeks, is no longer normal, speak up and ask for help. It would be speak up and ask for help. Speak up and ask for help. If you keep speaking, you get answers. Like I said, when the student is ready, the master shows up. It must happen that way. So you have to decide that today I'm done. I want a solution. This is not me. I don't want this any longer. So speak up and ask for help. And in speaking, you will definitely hear. And if you're like me, I work on my spirituality every time. Work on your spirituality. Because where there's faith, fear doesn't exist.
Amen.
So I could say maybe back then the faith wasn't really solid. Where there's faith, fear doesn't exist.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
I want to wrap up here because we've shared your authentic turning point, right? But I want to know, how have you changing or going on this trajectory of your life impacted your children?
That is a really, really, in fact, not just my children, my family.
Yeah,
I can't.
I'm
asking. Let me tell you.
It means a lot to us. Our children mean everything, right? Our family then means everything to us as well. So, what's the impact it's had on your children and your family? Tell me the impact. We're going to wrap with that.
Let me give you an example.
Tell me.
I did tell you about the conference I held in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
When I teach, because I teach, of course.
And was that back in Nigeria?
It was back in Nigeria.
Yeah, I saw that on Insta.
And my son was one of the speakers, speaking of course, on mindset. But before we traveled for that conference, he's 8 years old. 8.
Amazing.
But they started to change in the way. I didn't know they were observing these children. Because even for me, I started to show them how they can use, especially show them how they can use their words to create their life.
Yeah.
And to go through whatever and to change their belief system and to center themselves in terms of overcoming fear. And that has really impacted them because my son now is very, very keen in what he says. Oh, Mom, I can do it. I believe I can. And those are very little shifts that changes the way that we grow up. The children even grows up because they believe. Everyone's talking to themselves, isn't it? Including the children.
Yeah.
So they need to begin to be intrinsically motivated without waiting for anyone to motivate them. They have the right tools to motivate themselves. So I would say when you become that person that is conscious, you naturally lead other people, you influence other people. So I would say the way they have been influenced, so many ways, but I think the particular one that I can place my hands on right now is the fact that they can use their words to create their life. They are very positive children. They are very positive in the way that they address situations. And of course, the vision board allows me to set actions with my calendar, and they are starting to know how to use calendar themselves. We have our reading time together. We have our learning times together. And we have our family time together. We did this kind of arrangement to do things that goes around the family. So everyone has a time to pick a particular games or movie that they like. So it's, for me, I'm a conscious person now. And I think I'm pouring into them a lot. Because I can feel the way that they are being and they are living.
Perfect. Shakira, thank you so much. Yeah. Where can we find you?
Okay, best way to find me, my website is www.connectatabettermecoaching.com.
Fantastic.
www.connectatabettermecoaching.com. That's my website. If you go in there, you can book a call, and I have free call sessions where I talk to you about your situation. If it's what I can help you, because I don't believe I can fix everybody, but if it's what I can help you with, if not, I might be able to send you to someone who will be able to help you.
Thanks so much again, Shakira, for coming today on Authentic Turning Point. And thank you everyone for listening in to Authentic Turning Point. Remember to like, comment, share and subscribe. Bless you.